7 o'clock and we have a quorum. If you could all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball. Wow, full house. I like that. Thank you. All right, we've established the quorum. We've had our call to order. We've done our pledge, approval of the minutes for July 2nd.
Seen them.
Any questions,
You see them?
deletions?
See the minutes.
Anybody?
Did we get them?
They were sent electronically.
Yeah, electronic, I think, yeah.
I looked for them earlier tonight and I didn't see them.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the minutes.
I have many stacks of papers here. Here.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
I saw it, yeah.
Right.
I'm sure Suzanne sent them because I read them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll need a motion.
Brenda.
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion to approve the minutes by Mr. Nguyen and a second by Mr. Stevens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Let's pass. All right, public meeting. The first thing up on our agenda is the fiber optic update. Jay Watkins.
Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to attend this evening to provide an update on some of the projects that we've got going in and around town of Danville. First of all, we did get our wireless completed downtown, so around the square there is free Wi-Fi in there. So open up your browser, click on the Wi-Fi, and connect to Endeavor Communications free wireless. So that'll be in and around the square. If anyone has any problems with that, please let us know. But that's been available for about a week and a half now. So we did get that one wrapped up finally. We've got the school converted over to our network now. They've been up and going for a little over a month and seems to be moving in the right direction there. So very excited about that relationship in the coming months and years. We also, out at the fairgrounds, we've worked with Hendricks Power and the Fair Board. We added 31 wireless access points in and around the fairgrounds, so there will be wireless available out there right now during the fair. We're also live streaming the livestock shows out there, so you can get onto our website. There's a link on there. We're just streaming right to YouTube. We did this at Putnam County last year and had great success with this, and we had over 14,000 views with the live streams that we did last year. So look forward to seeing the results from this year. But like I said, go to our website at weendeavor.com and you can find that link to check those out. I believe the goat shows have been going on here the last couple of days, and quality looks pretty good. So. And on the last project, we've completed the mainline construction with the Barry Knoll area in the southwest corner of town. The drops will be going in this week to those residents, and then the splicing will be completed this week as well, and we plan to start those conversions next week. We've hit those houses numerous times, between 6 and 9 times. It's almost to the point where we're stalking those folks, so we're going to back off a little bit. But we've pretty well thrown everything at them. We've sent mailers, we've left door hangers, we've offered free big screen TVs. We have offered, what else? Free service for a few months. We've also offered buying out of contracts. For whatever reason, the folks in that area seem to be fairly satisfied with the services that they currently have. We have sold and connected, or will be connecting 6 of those locations. There's about 70 homes in that subdivision. So just kind of to put that in perspective, we spent about $80,000 on that project for that investment. And I know once we get these folks up and running on it, word of mouth will spread. We will get more folks to connect in that area. There's no doubt about it. You can see kind of what's been going on in the rural areas west of town. Now that we've been getting those folks connected, they've been working a couple of months now, and it's going really well, like I said, out west of town. But I did want to update everybody on that. I think some areas will want it. Some areas are satisfied with what they have. But kind of what we're planning on doing is shifting gears. I met with Laura there last week to kind of talk about it and go over a few things. But I think here for the next couple of months, we've got our salespeople in town right now. We're going to focus heavily on the businesses in the community of Danville and try to get as many of those businesses connected to the fiber. And I looked for that to be very, very successful. We already have several sold around the downtown area, and we're going to expand that footprint basically to connect them all around and along the fiber ring that you guys have in place. So that'll be started here, like I said, right now, where we have 2 individuals beating on the doors in town. If anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me, and I'll get them forwarded in the right direction. One thing that I would like to ask of the council, and just to get you guys' thoughts on it, if we're good in moving that direction, but we're looking at doing potentially a dual type of deployment. And by dual, I mean we have fiber available here. We're going to connect as many people to the fiber as we possibly can. But to help speed this up a little bit, we're also looking at an LTE technology, which LTE is a wireless, it's the same technology that your cell phones work on. We would connect to those high points. Again, you guys are familiar with some of the wireless. That was a point-to-multi-point type solution that you guys had. With the LTE technology, we can push 100 meg out to really any of the residents and have a very low price point on that product. And the technology has came a long ways since you guys first deployed your wireless product. So we're looking at doing that. And the idea would be, hey, let's saturate this town with a very good, high-quality wireless connection. Get as many folks on that as we possibly can as we start to see those numbers, and then that will dictate where we need to go with these fiber builds as well. So that's an option that we're looking at. And then continue to really hit with the businesses on the fiber to the home side of things. And as those businesses, we get those penetration rates that we need, then we can go in and deploy the fiber to those areas. Another ask I would have of the council, and like I mentioned, I spoke with Laura about this last week, is just getting the town more involved, getting the town employees, the town council, everybody to buy into this. This is what this community needs for the long haul. You need fiber to be relevant down the road. They're getting fiber in other areas around you, and it is important that this get deployed in this community as quickly as possible. So the sooner we get our stuff coming out with whatever it may be, a mailer that's going out with the water bills, a mailer that's going out with the sewer bills, whatever that may be, social media, pushing that out there. We're working with the community down south. The mayor of that community is posting once a week on the benefits of fiber and why they need fiber, why the community needs fiber, and we've seen significant results from that. All of these things that I've spoke of, I do believe that'll help get this project up off the ground a little bit quicker and going in a little bit better direction than where we're sitting right now. And really, for the most part, that's about all that I have as far as updates. I'd now entertain questions from the council.
Questions for Jay? How far, when you're on the square and you're connected to your Wi-Fi, how far out does that ring go? Is it a block, half a block?
It's pretty well downtown. The technology that we're using right there, it will not shoot through the buildings, and you've got buildings all the way around. If you get down an alley and you can see, basically, our antennas are on top of the courthouse. So if you can see the top of that courthouse, more than likely you will have signal. But for the majority of it, it is just right there on the 4 blocks of the square. So, yep. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all.
Good luck. All right, next up, National Night Out Street Closure Requests. Matt?
Good evening. My request is the same as it has been the year previous. Washington Street, Marion Street. I don't know if, I've talked to Superintendent Whitaker and Chief Morgan, and they're both okay with it. I don't know as far as how that's going to interfere with the construction, if that's going to make a difference or not, if we're going to shut down the whole square. I was kind of wondering if the council's okay with me doing that, or would they like me to move it back to the town hall like we had it the first year? And help with that.
What's
Shut
better
down
for
the
your
square.
project? What's
that?
better for your project?
I think it's going to be good regardless of where it's at. So the square is neat just because it's the center of town. But like I said, I know that they're planning on tearing up Jefferson Street. So if we have that closed, well, then we'll close Marion and Washington on a work day. So it could make it difficult for employees of the courthouse and people going to the courthouse.
Matt and I have talked, and he has it set for 7th. I have Jefferson set for 6 to start demolition. A half hour ago, he is still on schedule. He is asking for Marion Street. We are demoing last couple of events, just while I got you real quick. Last couple of events, we tried to wait until noon, close that square, but then it's already packed with cars. Road closures, 6 a.m. Lock them out of there, then you don't have to go.
It's a Tuesday?
It's a Tuesday, yeah.
So your
Correct.
concern is, there's no avenue around it.
Correct. We would shut down the whole square essentially. I'm good either way. We can move it, we can have it there. I really don't have a preference. Like, I prefer it to be there, but if it's not, I understand.
In years past, when we closed the square at noon.
Years past, we've actually closed it at 7, 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any pushback from merchants or the county?
Not that I can recall, yeah. I think people just understand and they found other places to park.
Heads up.
I can send an email to the superintendent of Pierce County.
Well, if I could chime in, when they were planning for Mayberry in the Midwest, and we had Washington closed, was that it? There was concern having all 3 sides closed, because Jefferson would be closed for setup as well. No, it was the Colts. It was the Colts event, that's what it was.
Mayberry, they were all open.
Yeah, that's right. So Washington was demolished, and they were needing to close Jefferson, and there was concern from the county that all 3 sides were going to be closed, and they wouldn't have access directly. So I think that's what Matt's trying to say is, if we've got Jefferson closed all day, the county won't have access on any side. So what about closing half a lane on Marion, so where you could do some setup on that half while you try to relocate cars on the other half, and just close half of it for the day? And then, at noon or after, then close the rest of it and let those cars eventually dissipate.
How do you feel about that, Ray?
We had trouble, and I pointed at Mark, doing the code. We waited till noon. AM, there wasn't a car on there, and noon it was completely packed. Either close it early, deal with cars.
What I'm suggesting is you close the north half of
I
Marion.
understand what you're saying. The cars on there.
I think this is one day a year, and it's an event that is very well received. Matt does a good job with it. I think that we need to just let the business owners know and the county know this is what we're going to be doing. because I think it's the right thing to do to shut down both of them. I think if you move the event, he won't have near as many people. People flock to the square. If it's here at the town hall, you got parking concerns, and also I don't see that many people being involved. And it's a good thing for everybody involved, so I'm for closing down both streets.
I think Dennis has a good point there. I agree with Dennis.
When we did the Colts event, we went around to all the businesses at least twice, and we went about 3 weeks ahead and about a week ahead. And I can get with you later as to who it was, but we only had one merchant that had any heartache over it. Now, the county did not contact us, but we had one merchant that was upset beforehand and upset afterward. But I think the key to it for the most part, is to letting them all know.
Communication, sure.
Letting
Yeah, we
them
can
all
work
know
on that
in
tomorrow,
advance.
or I can work on it this week for sure. Yeah.
I'll give you the contact for the county facility manager, so he can get the word out and let people know.
Yeah, I didn't want to put any map together yet because I didn't know for sure if we were going to move it or have it in the square, so I can work on that this week.
All right, so, any other discussion? What's the pleasure of the council? We accept we grant the temporary use permit or no?
I move to approve.
I've got a motion to approve. You will
Second.
keep the time the same, because right now it's from noon.
Yeah, we can modify that till,
6 a.m.
yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion to close the Town Square, Washington Street, Marion Street from 6 in the morning till 10 in the evening on August 7th, which is a Tuesday. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tom. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion granted. Just make sure you get with Marcia and
Okay.
get the communication flowing, so those people that are going to be upset with us have almost a month to be upset with us.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Great, thank you. Drainage issue, 1375 East Main Street, Barry Lofton, Walt.
Good evening. I wasn't at the last meeting. At the last meeting, there were some questions brought up about the drainage out at the Edwards Equipment Building, and I wanted to be able to give you the opportunity to ask questions now, if you had any, and then I can explain how we're treating these and why we treat them that way. Basically,
Also maybe give you some information you're not aware of.
yeah, so the way, how this came about is I was asked to come out and look at the drainage issue. There was never a drainage issue on the south side of the road, it was always on the north side of East Main Street. It had plugged up, and we had an animal guard on the end of it, and debris and trash was filling in from the ditch, and it would block it up. So water would go over the street and not through the pipe under the street. So we removed the animal guard off of the end section, and we didn't have any problems since. And then I met Gary Aiken out there, and we talked to Larry and Leon, and the question came up, I just asked the question, what are you looking to do here? Because if it's a drainage issue and it's within the right-of-way, we can help you. If it's outside the right-of-way, it's basically your property, and it's not the town's to maintain. And I've maintained that thought since I've started here. If you remember at Clear Creek, we had an issue out there, but the issue there was corn stalks from the north side had plugged everything up and was backing up water. In that situation, we would jump right in, open it up so it'll drain. That was not the issue out here. It was never a drainage issue. It basically was they wanted to be able to access the side road, which is not a town road, to get to the lot that was just adjacent to that. And through all of this, we were lucky that, is it Henrich Power or is it Wabash Valley?
It's Hendricks.
So Wabash
It's Hendricks Power that's building the
substation,
substation. It's Wabash Valley that's actually doing the work,
the design?
the design.
Okay, so the design of this, when they came together, I thought, hey, this is a good chance to solve a problem here, which really is not the town's problem, be able to help out this property owner and not be an expense to them or the town, to kind of include this drainage into that developed area. And unfortunately, it has taken a long time, but I had talked to Larry probably about 6 weeks ago and explained to him that there is a process that we're trying to get to get to the end goal. And 2 or 3 days after they were here, they came in and met with Laura, myself, and Walt, and actually have something on paper. It's not completed, but they do have something on paper that will help with what they want done. But the question I think the bigger question is what do we do with non-recorded easements that are drainage ways that have been there for a long time that are on individuals' property? Is it ours to maintain or is it not? And I think that's the bigger question here, is how we move forward with how we treat those. And Walt can speak more to that.
A couple of points I want to make. And this is a natural drainage way that's on private property. As far as we can find out, there are no easements covering that. And I know you all want to help your citizens. And for my part, maybe the thing to do is consider yourselves a private property. 36 right away or Main Street right away is where you're. Everything south of that is no easements that we can find over that. But you have no authority to do anything south of the right. So anything you do there, public money has to be very carefully considered, because there are no easements there for you to operate on. Private property, it's a natural drainage way. So you're restricted fairly much what you can do to help anybody there. Just like anybody north of that. Your water drains there, but it's private property. You're restricted pretty much on what you can do to help that person deal with that water. Fortunately for us, Wabash Valley has looked at that in a very, in my opinion, magnanimous way. They're looking to solve the region's problem and avoid conflicts. That's a private property. It's not a public road. They don't have to allow access to anybody. They wanted to look at it from that standpoint. They've not taken that position. They're looking at allowing access for the 2 adjoining properties, doing it in a way that we can make sure that those are safe accesses. Doing that, looking at closing that waterway pipe, doing it in such a way that it solves all of our problems. They're willing to put that pipe in, construct those 2 accesses, from both the west and the east, their expense, the owners, or the town of Danville, anything. All that they want to do it on their schedule as they do their design and as they build that power. So from our standpoint, if you can give us the time to work out the details as they do their construction of that power station, the problem will be solved. So if you will be patient, allow us to resolve the details, we can fix that problem for everybody. And it takes some time because they have to work on their schedule, resolve the issues involved in constructing that power station. It's a lot more involved than just a drainage problem. They have to deal with the problems of constructing a power station. So if you would be patient, not going to be done. Been working this since 1916. So it's not something we're aware of.
And that was kind of the echo that I told Larry the last time we spoke was our hands are tied because we're not allowed to spend public stormwater funds on private property. For one, I could probably go to jail, and I don't want to do that.
And the lawsuits would not make you happy.
Yeah. Because if you do something for somebody, you got to do it for everybody. That's kind of the stance I took, and I let him know that, but maybe I wasn't clear enough to say, if you want it done now, you have to do it yourself. If you want it done without any expense to yourself, then we'll get lucky and somebody will come through here and develop it for us both. Hopefully.
That was my
Yeah.
question. So their alternative, they just absolutely can't wait, it is their dime.
It's their property.
They-
And then the other part of this is erosion. I know Ray had spoken in the meeting about some drainage issues. That property drains very well. In 2 hours after a big rain event, that water's gone. It's not a drainage issue, it's an erosion issue that they have, because there is a lot of water that comes through there, and it's cutting those banks, and I believe that you had placed some riprap on the banks. So, yeah, that's the issue they're having. It's not drainage, it's erosion and an access.
And unfortunately, natural channels erode. Unless you want to spend a lot of money and a lot of time, just the nature of the beast. And you can spend money and a lot of time on those issues.
But I just want to make sure you had the opportunity, if you had questions from the last meeting, since I wasn't here, and I apologize for not being here to answer any questions that you had. I figured now was a good time.
So have the Edwards heard that?
Actually, the engineer that's designing has contacted them. I gave him their information, and he was going to contact them directly to see exactly what they were expecting out of it and where those two could come together as far as the design. There are some issues with the location of the road that would come in there since it's so close to 36, but we haven't gotten that far yet. Right.
And
They're not as patient.
has
as these
Wabash,
guys are.
has Wabash given you any indication? I know it's on their scale. I mean, are they talking, they're talking months still, sounds like.
They have not given us a definite time schedule.
They're still in the design phase, and then from that, they'll submit to us for site plan review, which goes to the Plan Commission for their approval. And so then after that approval's gained, then they'll be able to start. So, could be a while.
Any other questions for these guys? Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
In your defense, you're not required to be here but the second meeting of the month, so you're good.
I know, but it always happens if I'm not here.
I know.
It's
We appreciate
Murphy's
you.
Law.
You're doing a good job.
Thanks for listening.
Excuse me, Laura, do we have a portable mic?
We do not.
Would you guys think we might need a portable mic here? I could barely hear him.
Which one? Barry or Walt?
Walt, probably.
I'll get closer to the mic next time.
And sometimes people make
We want
comments.
to be loud and clear.
That was just my grandmother.
All right, moving on. Ordinance 9, 2018, mailbox parking amendment. Laura.
So just to bring us full circle, at the last meeting, this ordinance was introduced to address a complaint that we had about in the neighborhood of Clear Creek where vehicles were obstructing mailboxes. And I do believe that Mrs. Richards is here, may want to speak to you on that issue.
Okay.
I'm Shirley Richards, and I live here in Clear Creek. And we've had a problem because I live on a cul-de-sac, and on numerous occasions, we have people that park there for the day, and we've not been, on occasion, we've not been able to get mail delivery. And the mailboxes are fairly close together, so it's hard for the mail person to maneuver around them anyway. And when we contacted the police department, we were surprised to find out that there was no ordinance against it or a state regulation that would apply. So that's why we felt it was necessary to help us that live in housing additions and on a cul-de-sac.
I drove around that cul-de-sac this afternoon and looked at where your mailbox was, not stalking you or anything like that. It helps me to be able to visualize, to see what's going on here. I have a thought. May not like it, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway, just as a type of compromise. If, this is where your mic would come handy. I use my kid's
Love it.
voice.
We'd love it.
So the problem is parking right here, correct? Okay. I noticed that you have this, would it be possible, if your mailbox was moved from here to there, which is all I think for anybody to park, it would alleviate your problem with whoever's parking there. You get your mail delivered, they still park, it's a little bit of a hassle for you all, but it may solve the problem. There's no guarantee that they're gonna find your mailbox. Maybe they just like your mailbox and they just have to park there. Yes, sir. What's your name and what do you do? Yes, sir.
The teenagers out there in the house in Danville, 8 cars on the phone all day. As they're parked. That little spot that you were showing?
Yes, sir.
They parked there. This neighbor that's beside of us, yeah, the right,
Okay.
they have actually gone over there, urbanized. They can't get in the driveway. Go all the way over to the other side of the cul-de-sac, go in at an angle. But when you have 8 cars on the other side of Paddlebrook, see, there's enough room there for 15, 20. Teenagers have told me, we don't have to walk.
These high school kids, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No offense. Some of my students in the back. All right, I'm just throwing that out there as a possible solution because we're looking at an ordinance that would make it illegal to park in front of any mailbox. So,
If we do something like that,
Go ahead.
does that, I mean, you said we've had 4 complaints in 15, 20 years? That's not a lot of complaints to put an ordinance in, to have our town employees go put yellow in front of 5,000 mailboxes, or how many mailboxes are in Danville. That's cost on the town, and
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily have to yellow stripe it,
we can make it without a yellow stripe in it?
yeah.
Okay.
We do have other things on the list of prohibitions that aren't yellow striped. We don't yellow stripe, well, for example, every driveway. So just saying, you don't have to do that. Because really, it would be complaint driven. We'd only see, or get calls in case there's somebody parking there.
Okay.
That is a good consideration.
So the next question, or a question I would have is, Chief Rainey, in the event that we go ahead and pass this ordinance about parking, that's not going to stop it unless it's painted yellow, and even then, yellow paint doesn't stop people from parking. How diligent are your people going to be in answering this claim? Because, if they're parking there tomorrow, we pass it today and it goes into effect, and it's parking there tomorrow and they call, are we going to be able to have an officer respond quickly, or is this something that's going to take a while, or is this, I don't know, even though we have an ordinance, enforcement may be difficult for your staff. I don't know.
In addressing that, we had received a couple calls, I don't, you probably, from you, I think I even talked to you, well, we sent units out there, I think pretty quickly. Our problem was we couldn't get anyone to answer the door of the residence where they knew the subjects that had parked the vehicles lived there, and we were out there several times. But I think as far as our response time, I think they were satisfied with that. And I don't think we would have an issue with that. It's just a matter of finding somebody at home to address the vehicles. They answered the door on this certain incident.
Okay, thank you.
So in the event that we pass the ordinance, we're not going to go paint all these yellow lines, but I would assume that if the homeowner wants to paint that yellow and there's an ordinance to support it, we're not going to be objective to them painting that yellow.
If you don't mind the public painting our right-of-way.
Well, if we're not willing to do it, is my point. Yeah, I mean, if it's an ordinance that says there's no parking there, and it sounds to me like the kids are gonna ignore the ordinance.
Idea that we have a stop. Continue. It will. But people know wrong, against it. Then they're more cautious. We've had the officer out there, no car has been parked in front of the other people. So they call. Comes out and tells us they can park there if they want to. The old lady says, we're not going to deliver your mail. I wish she was here. Takes her so much to route. Get out of her vehicle. Says that first issues that she has. Any roads are fine. Nobody parks. An addition. We're living with them. 6 vehicles.
You want to make a comment? Go ahead. Your name and what do you do?
Yeah, I was on I'm in favor of that, because I lived on the Woodside here. And where I lived, it was like a small area. 2 mailboxes. Hello. Don't park there. He's hanging over it. So it was a patient parking in front of the but still, they're all. It's a mess because they had a pool, they was always having parties all over the place.
Thank you.
Could we get your name, sir?
Leonard Road.
Yep. Thank you. All right, we do in our packet have a series of posts from, is this Danville Chatter? The town of
The town
Danville.
Facebook page.
Our Facebook page.
Town of Danville.
And Suzanne had posted the question that the Danville Town Council is considering an ordinance that will prohibit parking in a manner that obstructs a mailbox and interferes with the delivery of mail by the U.S. Post Office. If you have any thoughts or comments of this ordinance, please feel free to contact your council representative or Laura Parker at the Town Hall Administration Office. In reading a lot of these, it seemed, number one, there is no law. I went to the post office, I talked with the person in charge of delivery, there is no federal law. So for those people that think there's a federal law, I'm sorry, but there's not. There are some ordinances in other towns, a lot of Danvilles in the United States, and they do have some ordinances. Danville, Indiana does not. So for those people that think Danville already has one, we do not. I don't know what Brownsburg, Plainfield, and Avon do. I haven't seen that information. A lot of these comments are back with people should have common sense. There should be. It's NIMBY, not in my backyard. You can park in somebody else's spot, but you can't park in mine. Do we seriously need an ordinance? Do we need all this yellow paint? Don't block my mailbox or else. We kind of want to skip that one. Again, it should be common sense. It should be common sense. I agree. It should be common sense. I also agree with post office that it hinders their ability to do their job to the point where if they're doing 600 to 900 deliveries, and this slows them up, it becomes problematic for them. I personally would like to delve into this a little bit deeper rather than make a decision tonight. I would like to see what other communities do. And as Dennis pointed out, this is few complaints over a long period of time. Sorry that it happens to you guys. I want to take a look at the overall picture. Yeah, your cul-de-sac is tight. And when I went through, there were only 1 or 2 cars on the street. I can't imagine when it's got half, you've got 8 to 10 cars on that, but I have not seen that. Okay? It's up to the council, of course, what you want to do tonight. My preference would be to just delve into this a little bit deeper. But that's just my thoughts, Tom.
I agree with Mike if we need a little more time, but what I'm looking at here is lots of problems. You've got party problems, you've got lots of kids, you've got mailboxes that if you were really a mail person and you wanted to deliver the mail, you'd almost need that whole cul-de-sac to be cleared. Because how do you come in a 10-foot thing with the truck and go back out? So then the burden is being put on us. Well, right now, it's being put on us, but maybe the burden lies in a few places. One, the mail people have a code to how you put your mailbox. So maybe on their side, I know there could be some negatives on every one of these decisions, where you put all the mailboxes at the front of your cul-de-sac, and the mail truck does not have to go in there. But then that means you have to walk from your house, or when you pull in, like they do in some of these apartment complexes, you pull up to your mailbox, and there's 20 of them there, and you get your mail. So that's one way to solve the mailbox problem, because I think if you don't allow people to park in front of the mailbox, you'd really have to have a lot of area for that truck to come in and out. The other problem is, I don't know, those parties, they make noise and you complain or whatever they're doing in there. And of course, your own private thing, you have your territory and people want to mark their territory. Stay out of it. So I would say, agree with Mike, that it probably needs a little bit of thinking through. There's probably a few people that have to act on something, not just us. And maybe we ought to talk to the mail people to put all the mailboxes out the front. Then you could have more kids park there. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
I said the HOA won't let you move the mailbox.
Well, they're humans too. You can talk to them. You have a problem, and it looks like it's a problem that needs to be solved with several groups. I think just by saying, don't park in front of the mailbox, you're going to have a big area there.
But just the idea that we had officers come out twice, nobody has our mailbox.
Well, there you go. Our law enforcement's working well.
That's right, they are.
Anyways, I agree with Mike. I think she would think about it a little bit more. It's probably a little more complex than just passing this ordinance here.
Marcia, your thoughts?
I took the opportunity to talk to a lot of people one-on-one. I did monitor the comments on the Town of Danville page, and then I shared it to the chatter pages, and the comments on the chatter pages were very similar. I'm not sure there were any that I saw that were against it. I know that this is not an isolated case to your neighborhood. Just as Mr. Rowe said, it occurs all the time. I mean, my personal cul-de-sac that I live on is the same way, and if there's a car in front of it, usually it's somebody that's at my house, and then I just deal with it. But I think it's something that, as everyone that I've talked to feels like it's a common sense issue, people shouldn't do it, and if it's going to have to be put into an ordinance to correct the problem, I think we need to do that. I guess I don't know that it matters to me so much what the other communities do. If it's an issue for a lot of people in our community, then I think we need to address it. So I personally don't have a problem moving forward with it. I felt like I got enough feedback from the public to pass the ordinance, but, I'm one vote and do what the council wants to do. So.
Dennis, your thoughts?
I'm in agreement with you to table it.
I was truly surprised when we talked about it a couple weeks ago as well. I thought it was common sense. Like Marcia, have spoke with a handful of people. I've actually had heard complaints before, long before this, from people live in those types of neighborhoods. Thought it was just something that wasn't being enforced. Thought it was there, but they just didn't call the police department. They just dealt with a neighbor that was continuing to do it. I think everybody I've spoke to about it since then had the same opinion. You're allowed to? Everybody I've spoke to, truly. I think the feedback that we saw on social media was definitely supported that. I don't know how much we would learn from another community, what they do. I'm by no means am I against listening to what somebody else has to do, but I think it is an issue. I think it'd be very bothersome if somebody continued if it was, personally, looking at personally. So I think it's a common sense thing. I think I don't know how much more we could learn from waiting, delaying it, not dead set against them. I'm all about collecting information. Maybe there is something out there as far as how to proceed. But I do feel right now, I can tell you, I do feel we need to proceed with something to keep it from happening.
Hey, Franny, your thoughts on this? Because it'll be your department that's going to enforce this.
I think we've probably been out there a couple times on call, probably 3 or 4 times to locate the people that, that they suspected were doing the parking. I guess it kind of would break down is the complaint. We need an ordinance if we're going to enforce it. Obviously, it just kind of fuels their fire when you go out there to try to address it with someone who's reporting it. And then if you do locate who owns the car, and you tell them, well, there's nothing we can do, but we'd ask you to move, they don't move it, then what if they are blocking the mailbox to where they can even get it open or they can't get it open? So is it, different issues, an issue that the mail can't be delivered or it can't be received once it has been delivered, or is an issue I just don't want anybody parking in front of my house? And I think those are two separate issues, but in order for us to really follow through with anything, we have to have an ordinance in order to do so, whether the lines are painted or whatever. I mean, if you can't locate, like what's happened at this residence, you can't locate the people that own the vehicle, and there's an ordinance, you put a parking violation ticket on there, and they have 2 choices, either pay it or call me or come in and talk to me, and that's normally what happens. And then they will realize that there is an ordinance if for some reason they won't answer the door or we can't locate them on the scene. So, but for us to enforce it, and this isn't the only neighborhood where I've been contacted, within the last month about parking issues in neighborhoods. So I think maybe once the word gets out that it's being addressed, it's probably going to be more of an issue than what we've had to address in the past. I believe so.
Ray, your thoughts on this? Thank you, Chief. All right, I got 2 Rays going here.
Being on the guy that takes care of the street, and hearing you say that you actually drove that, imagine all those cars. Turn a snowplow.
Chief Morgan, anything from the fire end on this? Okay. Any other departments, real quick? Good beat, but it's hard to dance to. Can you turn that down? All right, so we do have this ordinance. Number 9, an ordinance to amend the Campbelltown Code, Traffic 7, Traffic Code, Chapter 71, Parking Regulations. What is the will of the council? We can move forward since it's already been introduced, pass it tonight. Take time to add it and see if there's something comprehensive. We can table it, we can do whatever the thoughts of the council are, so, any and all thoughts.
Do we ever pass ordinances and then see how they run for a month?
We've passed ordinances and had a vicious crowd come in 2 weeks later and rescinded them.
Okay. So that is possible.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Every once in a while, we pass one that people like, too.
I don't see any penalties on this ordinance.
It's the same
Missing
penalties
something?
under that section of the code.
It's the
You can
last-
write,
71, right down here at the bottom.
Parking regulations, town code.
It's just not spelled out in this.
it'd be a $25 ticket,
Broad term.
but the first time would be at the discretion of the patrol officer. So they could issue warnings. They wouldn't necessarily have to ticket the first time.
So there's not a, and I don't know that ordinance by heart, so how many times till they get towed?
I don't believe there's a towing provision for parking in front of the mailbox.
This is a lot different than taking up a spot on the square for 2 days.
Yeah.
I think we need to look further into it to get further and more penalty that's gonna stick these people from not parking in front of mailbox. If we're gonna do this, let's do it right. Give them a warning, give them a ticket, do it again, we tow your car. I mean, it should be a federal, tampering with mail is a federal offense, is it not? So,
It is.
That's what they
parking in
say.
front of the mailbox, you can't get your mail to be tampered with, so the federal government should be doing something, which is sad.
Wouldn't that apply to looking into the parking regulation code versus this ordinance itself? And that would affect the code and the,
To me, this is different than parking, like our parking ordinances, because that's, you're taking up a space, you're taking up somebody's space. You're inconveniencing no one other than somebody wants to park there. This, you're inconveniencing them who live there and the U.S. Post Office who can't deliver their mail so they can get their bills and mail. It just seems a little bit more, it should be a little bit more stringent than regular parking.
I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just saying that I'm not sure the ordinance drives that as much as the code that determines the penalty.
Quite honestly, I don't believe that the post office looks at it as a problem. I think the post office looks at it as, yep, blocked.
Yeah, whatever,
Letters
unless
on.
I got.
And they have to do it again, or?
I think a penalty of discretionary the first time, then a $25 hit after hit, I think that would get a fair bit of attention personally.
Another thought. Yes, your name and what do you do?
Sorry, Leslie Lynch, and I live in Danville as well. We have a cul-de-sac similar to yours, and we got a ticket for someone parking the wrong way on our cul-de-sac, which was not inconveniencing anybody, and we got a ticket for that. So I find it kind of hard to believe that we're not going to pass out tickets for people blocking mail that inconveniences people, prescription medicines for the elderly, bills, those kinds of things, without that. So I feel like it's kind of a big deal if you're going to ticket for parking backwards, which doesn't really inconvenience anybody. If this conveniences people, I'm not going to consider it.
Thought for the council. If we took this ordinance and we said no parking in one of the mailboxes from 6A to 6P, would allow the post office time to deliver, would hopefully give the street department an opportunity to plow, even though people aren't always going to follow that.
When snow falls.
Just human nature.
Ask Laura Parker. We have our ways.
What I'm trying to find is some compromise that is going to be a solution that, we can always, as Tom mentioned, we can always change it. But if we do a 6A to 6P, then people can still park on the street. It seems, especially in a cul-de-sac, and like you've said, parking is at a premium. Would protect the homeowners somewhat, because if somebody's parked in front of your mailbox, you can call the police and they're going to come out and warn them or ticket them, since apparently we can't tow them. Well, we might put a little bite in that at some point in time. Never pay them, you never pay them.
What's
What are
the
we
penalty
getting,
if you don't
$3
pay
on
them?
every ticket anyway? Yeah, it's not much.
What if they don't pay them? There's no penalty for that.
I think that the fee does increase as the ticket goes unpaid. I just didn't bring the book with me to have the ordinance in front of me.
Changed that ordinance a little bit, and their collection was, yeah, now you can collect all 4 tires, town garage. You might pay a little bit quicker too, and stop parking there. I'm just throwing it out there, I'm looking for something that's gonna try to be an end-all, be-all, but if it's the will of the council to pass it as written, then so be it.
Would the 6 a.m., 6 p.m. satisfy you?
That's fine. See, we're not talking. Calls, tell their kids. After 6 o'clock, tells delivered. Different people park.
I'd go from the 6 to 6.
I'm looking up how much does it cost to buy food to put on
Okay, but what do you think about 6A to 6B?
I'm fine with that.
Jim?
Doesn't make it any more difficult to enforce. I mean, as long as it's public knowledge, it's simple as that. I'd be fine with that. The only thing that I kind of felt like we may be getting a little more than just the inconvenience of mailbox, because like Ray had mentioned, I think in just knowledge, they're so clustered in those cul-de-sacs, it's difficult to, I was thinking we'd get a little double there and it would just eliminate the congestion as well. As far as,
I'm okay with doing it 24 hours a day. I'm just
as far as,
trying to
as far as,
compromise.
as far as the compromise, we have a homeowner that's actually made the complaints and they seem to be, okay with that, so I like the fact of it a little bit better being 24 hours because it solved a few other issues in my opinion, but the issue we're actually talking about as far as mail, I think 6 to 6 would probably solve that.
Okay.
For the ones that don't want to follow along, a boot's $50, so we could invest in a couple of those boots. Then we don't have to pay to tow and do all that, we just put a boot on it.
Then we have the problem that there's a boot on a car parked in front of a mailbox that now, they're still not moving.
But they're paying a lot more, so they won't do it again.
Yeah, you would hope so. Okay, so we need to move on through this issue. Do we want to pass it as is, or do we want to modify it? If we want to modify it, can we bring it back next week, or do you guys want to pass it? Take a motion, do a vote?
Do we have to, if we modify it 6 to 6, do we have to wait, or can we take a consensus? How does that work?
I would need to revise the ordinance and bring it back to you.
That just makes it a lot cleaner. So let me ask this then, so we'll move on a little bit quicker. We have ordinance number 9, 2018. All in favor of passing this ordinance, is there a motion to pass ordinance number 9 as is?
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 9, 2018 as is.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. 3-2, it passes. Ordinance number 9, 2018. Okay. Shuffle through my papers here. All right, we're on to ordinance number 10, 2018, golf cart and use of operation. But no parking on mailboxes.
You can sign that later. So in your packet is a draft, per the request of Tom Pato, to craft some language that would permit golf carts to operate on town streets within the town of Danville limits.
Okay, Tom, this is your ordinance. You want to say anything about it?
Yes, thank you. Basically, I could call this the Jim Phillips ordinance, because Jim, I thought, had a wonderful idea, and I heard a lot of other people support him, and I thought about it, and I thought it would be a good thing for the town. So, in looking at this ordinance, I would like to add 2 changes to it. One is seatbelts. It maybe is implied by all regulations when you drive, but I think we ought to actually state seatbelts, and 30 miles an hour instead of 25. If you do 25-mile-an-hour limit roads, I think there's only 2 roads you can drive on. I'm being facetious here, but at least 30 you can get around. Other than that, I think it's a good idea. And so far, I got a lot of people that were happy about it. Mr. Phillips, would you like to say something? Because you've done some work on this.
Looking at this, and also had the additional benefit of being on Tybee Island recently, which they're loaded with golf carts for transportation. I'm a bit of a conservative when it comes to things like this, thinking about safety. I think it's important for us to add seat belts. I also am a little concerned about the age. A licensed driver doesn't necessarily give them the maturity to handle that type of vehicle in a town atmosphere as opposed to a non-town atmosphere. So my interest would be maybe an age limit of 18 or older. And I noticed the one thing that they had on Tybee Island, all of their golf carts had rearview mirrors, had yellow lights flashing on top when in use.
Yeah, I thought of that.
Which I thought was a great idea so that we can see them, daylight or night. And but they didn't require use of seat belts. Now, Granddad did when all of the grandchildren rode with me while I was driving it, but I think use of seat belts, if we could have some language with that, would be advantageous for us also. In their ordinance, a golf cart could only cross US 80 at a stoplight, which I thought was smart. Couldn't be operated on the highway, but it could cross at those key intersections. So I'd like for us to consider something like that in addition.
The Villages has the same thing.
Yes.
You have to go across the street.
Yeah,
on a street
it's a
light.
good safety piece. So those are my thoughts about that.
I think the addition of the yellow light, I thought about that, played with it back and forth, and I think that would be a good idea if we could put that in the ordinance when we go up for a motion.
Okay.
The seat belts, I've heard from people close here that people have, the way they know people have died in them is they've fallen out of them.
Yes.
And Laura has experience with a friend that died that way. And in the Villages with 120,000 people, I don't know, 60,000 carts, they had, I think, 2 deaths last year, and it was from people falling out, not from getting hit by other cars. So I agree with that. I think the age limit of 18, at least, is a good idea as well. So I would like to put that in there.
Okay.
18, the light, seat belts, and roads of 30 miles an hour. With all those great safety things.
I agree.
Do most golf carts have brake lights? Ones you see on the golf courses don't.
No, they don't.
But these will.
I mean, we'd have to require that because somebody could buy
Yes,
one off
it
of
should
the
be,
golf course. and
it should be
might have them.
required that there be, in Tybee, it's not only a headlight and tail lights, but also turn signals that work.
Right.
Yeah, I think all that's in
And
there.
rear view
It's all
mirror.
in
and
there.
those-
Headlights,
okay.
taillights, turn signals, brake lights,
Yeah.
Number 1.
and the triangle.
Yeah, slow-moving
Triangle
on
plus
the
a
back.
strobe light, or a strobe light replacing a triangle?
Say again?
You want the strobe light and a triangle?
Oh, yeah.
That's-
The triangle at the back and the little
See, it
blinking
comes-
light at the top.
Okay.
I got a couple questions, Jim. One, how wide are the roads on Tybee Island compared to our town roads that have been here forever? And you got cars parked on one side, sometimes two, where people are dodging left and right with their cars, which makes it even dangerous to drive a car on Columbia Street.
The way that they operate on Tybee is the major road is wide enough, it's tipped similar to our Columbia Street. they ask cart usage and bicycle usage to be on the non-major road for the majority of the time. That's to keep those slow-moving vehicles and bicycles out of the way of the major thoroughfare.
So we'd have to define all that.
We can if we want to. Yeah.
Then, we've got a good police department that doesn't go around giving tickets just to give tickets. And I've seen golf carts in my neighborhood and a lot of neighborhoods that we don't have an ordinance, and it's rare. So how many people, and maybe we should do our own through, like we did social media, through the park in front of a mailbox, how many people would take advantage of this? Is it, I'm not saying I'm against it, I just want to know, is it worth going through all this trouble of creating this if it's for 4 or 5 people? I mean, where are we with it? I mean, the first I've heard about was the last meeting, so.
I guess it depends on where you live and what the discussion has been. In our little piece of the world of Danville, Washington Street, we've had access to one neighbor who has had a cart for a number of years and find it very handy. In fact, the rest of us borrow it. They've moved now, but the rest of us borrowed it frequently to run uptown to do something that's cheaper to operate a golf cart than it is an SUV or a pickup truck or even something, like a smaller car. And it's more convenient. It's easier to find a place to park. What's the number of carts in town? Don't know. I haven't done a survey of that. What's the potential? I think it's tremendous. And I think it sets us apart more as a small town community to stay small town with some designated growth, because it gives us a different flavor. It gives us a hometown.
I agree.
We can be friendly. We can be open.
I agree.
We see each other. We've slowed down a little bit. We like our town. We like you. And I think if that's what we're trying to draw, this would be another asset to make us more appealing. And as you saw, I got this ordinance from Lebanon, which is about twice our size. So I think they're 16,000. And they haven't had any problem with it. I spend a few times running through Lebanon. I've seen a few carts. I don't know what prompted their getting involved. But I see with our town moving, I would see a great deal of interest in this piece.
Since we can't pass it tonight anyway because we've added so many things, is it worth going to see what the interest is from the public via social media? Just to see that. I'm not against it. I just want to learn more about it.
I think the interest in the public is a non-event. If there's 4 or 5, if we pass this and 4 or 5 people use it, fine, it's no big deal. But if people start to use it, if the ordinance is there, if we want to wait and see how many people want to use it, I think it's probably not logical to do it that way. I think you'd be better off just to pass it. And do we have can we not pass it tonight?
We could, not if you make the changes.
Okay, no problem.
So it's just introduced tonight.
Okay.
I know I have a neighbor that just moved in across from us this last year who brought a golf cart with him. His prior neighborhood allowed them and was disappointed to know that we did not have an ordinance allowing them. And talked to him, told him that we were going to be considering this, and he was real excited to find out. And I don't want to put Matt on the spot, but they own a golf cart as well. So I think there's a great deal of interest, and I think there's a lot more people that would have them if the ordinance allowed it that don't have them today. So might be 4 or 5 that have them today, but a lot more that would have them. I guess my question would be with Chief Rainey as to what safety concerns you would have. That's the only concern I have.
Mr. Phillips came to my office, and we were kind of laughing about it. I'd gotten a call about a week prior to his arrival from someone here in Danville that said it wasn't a golf cart, it was some kind of electric cart, and Jim and I talked about that. But while he was sitting there, I said, I'm not that adverse on golf carts and ordinances, so I contacted 3 or 4 communities while he was sitting there, put them on speakerphone, listened, recommended that he contact Lebanon because we knew that they were permitted. I got a hold of the acting town manager, Laura. Right after that, we talked about it. She did quite a bit of research from different sizes of towns and cities on it. I told Jim at the time, I think my big concern was I wouldn't want them on US 36 or those heavily traveled roads like that. We talked about it, he went and did his work, we did ours, Laura did more than I did, and I don't see it a problem. I think it would be it would catch on, it would grow. I think we're going to probably see more golf carts than what we would even anticipate with it. I personally don't see it as any big problem if they abide by the ordinances that's set forth, such as you mentioned, you know, stoplights, and as cars trying to get through their stoplights are for a special thing, sometimes trying to get across 36. So I don't see real a big issue as long as we can make sure that everybody who has a golf cart, everybody adheres to the rules.
It could be a godsend. We could slow the people down.
I could see 20 of them at the courthouse for a concert on the square.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing, you can park 2 golf carts in one.
In one
Yes.
parking spot.
Or you can do 4.
Four, yeah, that's
You can
what I
do
was
4
gonna
if
say.
you're
I
all
think we do
friends.
4.
I think you'll see a lot more at the park. I think that's the destination.
18 on there, should you also have a valid driver's
That's on there.
that's
Yeah.
in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do all that.
Can we permit these things and make a few dollars off?
I think so.
Well, there's some people that'll start businesses, I've already heard.
All the research that I did, the communities that required a permit or some form of registration, it was all done through the police department, and most of the time, they also did an inspection for all these features.
Exactly, ensure that they're complying with all the
Yeah.
turn signals and lights. Say what? Can you get us a copy of that? Great. I know we don't normally do this question and answer thing, but I love it, so we're going to do it.
We have a golf cart that we use at our campground,
Mhm.
and we're required to carry liability insurance, register it. So I think
That would be mandatory.
registration It's a great idea to assure insurance, because you got a moving vehicle.
Right.
That could run into another moving vehicle. Who's liable?
Right, that's a great point.
Requires you to carry insurance according to the state statute, so that's already implied through this.
And it's a lifestyle out there. I mean, you get there, you park your car, and I think it would absolutely catch on and create a culture in the town.
If we can't be a tree city, let's be a cart city.
There you go.
You, a statement, sir? Your name and what do you do? Sorry.
Brian Hoskeen, I'm here for another reason, but
I
Brian
like your-
Hoskeen, hometown insurance. I live in Lebanon, and I own a golf cart, and lived there for 4 years. So a couple things that I could add to that is to crossing. So if you do allow it, I would suggest you put sign on the roads in our says no golf carts allowed on 32 and 39. So people don't. But we don't have, we do not have seatbelts. So, and I don't know, I'm going to guess from the kids that I see driving, it could even be 14 or 16. Just, I think that becomes a tough thing for the police to enforce driver's license, and they giving you feedback on 16 versus 18. But we definitely don't have the seatbelts. We do have all the other things that you say, the registration. We pay $25. We have the headlights, we have the taillights, we have the triangle, and it is totally supportive. I think it is a domino effect. You have more people to see, and it's a total golf cart town. So those are things that I'm witnessing.
Excuse me, do you have something when you enter your town that says golf cart friendly town? Be careful?
Well, not really, other than it says, I mean, when you're entering the State Road 32 or 39, no golf carts allowed on State Road.
I would think that would be a good thing for our town, the entrances to the town to notify people. This is a golf sanctuary city.
Whoa, 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 wait a minute. Easy now. You haven't even got this
Need to
passed
change
yet.
those words.
Yeah, it's almost past, Mike.
Okay, so this ordinance will stand as introduced. Thank you for your input, good, bad, and indifferent. And Laura, can you look at some of the changes, recommendations, get back to us? And Ray, can you look into signage, what it would cost to sign our cart-friendly town sanctuary city? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
golf buggy, the Jimmy Phillips Sanctuary Golf Buggy City.
Might want to also look at the registration fees and things that would that be a part of this ordinance or a part of the town code ordinance, fees? If we did a registration fee.
We would incorporate that into the fee ordinance, yes.
But it would be mentioned in
Yes.
this ordinance. All right, well, a little more work to do on that, too. Beautiful. All right, resolution number 9, declaring zero value, Police Department. Jenny Piercy is not here today. Chief, you want to take this, or?
This just deals with a couple, two protective vests that were issued to our police officers. These two police officers are part-time officers. One of them is a full-time officer at Plainfield who's been assigned to a drug task force, who I don't believe any longer is going to serve in a part-time position. He hasn't really worked for a year or better. The other officer was a full-time police officer at Butler. I have since later heard that he may be at the Sheriff's Department in Putnam County, but he no longer has the time or interest to serve as a part-time. These vests are, when you go to buy them, that you're fitted by a representative from the vest manufacturer, so they are all detailed to the particular officer. There's only been one time in the 2 years I've been here that we've been able to utilize one of the vests, and that was recently with one of the officers' vests would fit recently hired Bernard Mangum, and we were able to get him into one, because usually it's maybe a 3-month wait before we can get a vest once we've ordered them. But these really have no purpose as a whole for our department. There's nothing we can use them in for training exercises or even to reissue them to another officer. These vests have a manufacturer's lifespan of 5 years. They have to be replaced. One of these would need to be replaced in 21 and one in 20. So they're about midlife for their warranty, but just requesting that these be declared zero and the officers keep them when they leave.
Any questions? All right, pleasure of the council on this one.
I move to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve Resolution 9, 2018, a resolution declaring certain town equipment for the police department of having little to no value, in this case, 2 bulletproof vests. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Tom. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays, sorry. Motion carries. Resolution number 10, timekeeping policy. Jenny again, but she's not here. Laura, you want to take this
Sure,
for
I'll
Kronos?
take this one. So as you know, we're transitioning from paper time cards to an electronic time card keeping system. It's going to save a lot of man hours in terms of our department heads and our payroll staff calculating time cards. I know President Nielsen had a chance to sit in on a meeting we had last week discussing this. So in order to move to that electronic timekeeping system, we needed to have a policy in place that spelled out for the employees in the employee handbook what the purpose was, whose responsibilities for each of the segments of approving those time cards and how to fill them out and what to do when there's an error or if there's a problem with the machine itself. So this policy in great depth spells out those details. So it is being brought to you tonight for that inclusion in the employee handbook.
Department heads, you've had a chance to work with Kronos. I got a thumbs down from Ray. Got a couple of thumbs up in the back. Thumbs up, a little sideways.
Ray
Okay.
still has on his training wheels when it comes to Kronos.
It's not going to be, there are, sitting in that meeting and listening to the highs and lows of this particular system. It's going to be some growing pains, but it seems like it's going to make us a lot more efficient. Cards can kind of be a sticky issue.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Does that include everybody, like the people in this building as well?
It includes all employees in all locations.
Are we considered employees?
No, you're not. You serve on a board, so none of our boards would be electronic. Just your regular run-of-the-mill rank and file staff.
Any questions? All right. It's a pleasure of the council for Resolution 10. And how long has this been working? We've had it a month, is that correct, or more?
We've been beta testing for a couple of months,
Okay.
and all employees were to go live on Saturday. So, but we're also keeping paper ones at the same time for the first couple of weeks while we work out the glitches, because we know there will be some bumps in the road.
Well, you can teach an old dog a new trick every now and then.
No, but we're going to help him.
I just threw that out. I wasn't looking at Ray when I said that.
I will move to approve this resolution.
All right, we have a motion to accept Resolution 10, 2018. This is serious stuff, folks, stop laughing. An amendment to the Town of Danville Employee Policy Handbook, Section 4.1 for the Kronos timing system. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And to top it off tonight, we've got a change order for North Tank Maintenance Project. Jim Russell.
I think you skipped item H.
Skipped item H.
Oh, did I? Ordinance 11, 2018, additional appropriations. Jenny, sorry.
Barry almost had a heart attack.
Sorry, Barry. Are you going to be Jenny tonight?
I'm going to be Jenny.
Okay.
He's just got a section here included.
All right. Jenny, too.
So we had to advertise because this is reappropriation within budget classifications. The first section was moving from within the general fund from one park account into the new one that's being created, that's a separate standalone park fund. So that was to cover the salaries of a certain assistant park superintendent. The second line item there for 4,600 was a shortfall in the calculations of wages for the two officers that come out of edit. So this was a reappropriation to cover that difference for this year. And just so you know, this was necessary in order to affect this year's budget. It has nothing to do with 2019. Barry's favorite subject on the next page is the Stormwater Operations Fund. And while a certain amount was budgeted for 2018, obviously, as you know, a lot of projects involving stormwater this year, so he needed additional funds appropriated into that line item for repairs and maintenance. So this will cover that. And then the last item was our 2018 grant, Community Crossings grant that we received the funds for, so we had to appropriate that into the Community Crossings Fund. So all of these things will take care of the 2018 budget year.
Any questions by the council for these additional appropriations?
It is an ordinance.
It is an ordinance, so it is introduced tonight unless you choose to suspend. How pressing are these?
How pressing, Barry?
For me, pretty pressing. Operated all repairs on the north side of town. I didn't actually know the paving was going to happen. So the minute that happened, I spoke with Gary about doing repairs so that we wouldn't pave and then come back and cut that pavement forward, and that's been so actually you might be able to get more feedback in the negative.
Okay.
I will move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Just going to say that. We've got a motion to suspend and a second. All in favor to suspend rules, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, now that we've suspended the rules, we can deal with the appropriation, additional appropriation ordinance 11, 2018.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 11, 2018.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second by Tom. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance is passed. You've got your money. Beautiful. Now, item, give the man $855,000 and he leaves. All right, change order for the North Tank Maintenance Project. By the way, I was up at the North Tank this afternoon. Jimmy got me inside that thing. Really cool.
You bet. All right, yeah, thanks for coming
As
out.
long as the
and
door
seeing
was
it.
still open.
Yeah. We had both hatches open, so he was able to escape in case somebody closed one. And I get both at the same time. What I'm here tonight for, naturally, had a contract to paint the water tower out at the North Elementary. The original cost estimation was about $195,000. Bid come in at $155,000. I've got Josh Seelig here to explain the change order and reason why we have the change order, so he can do that for us real quick.
Hi, Josh Seelig, Banyan Engineering. The change order is basically replacing the roof hatch. The original one was actually up to OSHA standards. We didn't end up replacing it because we thought it'd be fine. It ended up being too close to the edge of the roof, and where we installed the new handrail to meet with OSHA compliance, couldn't actually open the hatch, and it rendered it useless. So we had to make a change order, install a new one. I don't know if Jim provided you the drawings or anything like that, but
No, I didn't.
the change order ended up being $9,400. Even if it's approved, we're still a little over $34,000 under budget for the entire project. So, yeah. I don't know if you have any questions.
Any questions? So that's what we're here for tonight.
Laura, can we pass this as is? Or do we have
Yes,
to
just
suspend
take a
the
motion.
Okay.
I'd move to approve change order for North Tank Maintenance Project for the water company.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for that tour. That was
Oh, yeah.
interesting.
Come up next, too.
Yeah.
Up here for the water report.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get that started. We could do the change order here, and the crew's been doing a wonderful job out there. The engineers, the inspectors, we got like 8 reports that they've emailed where everything looks like it's going on pretty much on schedule. Talking with the tank painters, and Mike was out there today, probably 70% of the tank is painted. They plan on coming out, they'll be out tomorrow, start doing some more painting, because today they thought with the current weather conditions, we might get some rain. They didn't want to put any paint on it and then get rained on. So they'll be out tomorrow, and we think that we'll probably be able to start adding some water to the tank Thursday. What they're going to do, they're going to be out tomorrow, do some more painting, and then do some more cleanup inside, and then they're going to make the gaskets for the hatches. And then the reason why we're going to add some water to the tank is at least flood the manways to make sure that they're not leaking. And then we're going to hold water in that till they finish the entire job. And then after I get back from vacation towards the end of the month, we'll go ahead and fill it completely full. The lettering is supposed to be, I believe, Thursday. The people are going to start the lettering on that. I explained to Mike that we're going to have the Town of Danville logo on that. It's going to be approximately about 40 foot long, probably 8 to 10 feet tall, which we think that's big here, but once you get it on the tank and see that, and it'll be on the north side of the tank as you're coming into town, you'll be able to just kind of be off to your right. I've looked, we selected to only have one logo on the tank because coming from 36 west to eastbound, you cannot see the tank. The trees block everything, so that'd be some money savings there. And naturally, you don't want to run into traffic when you're looking over at the tank, and we don't have any accidents. Yes?
Who's painting the logo?
It will be the contractor will be doing that. Yeah, that's part of their, on their job bid to do that. And the artwork's already done. It's basically the same artwork as our logos on the shirts and everything. It'll be like it. They'll be black. As far as the water thing, it's a dry period. We're experiencing a lot of pumpage. We're pumping over 1 million gallons of water a day, every day. Some days almost 1,200. We had one leak. We had a department had a little meeting, and I said, well, no leaks. And then all of a sudden, an hour later, it's like we're fixing one, and I'm going, oh, boy. But anyway, they have slowed down. We've, like I say, we've got the pumps working at the plant. The one pump that had was pulled. It did have a bad bent shaft in it. That's been repaired, and it's been installed. So we're back up to full 100% operation. So they got that vibration taken out. And it's amazing that the shafts typically are about, and these certain pumps are 9 feet long. Apparently, it might have got bent in shipping, which it doesn't take a whole lot to create a lot of vibration when the motors turn 1,800 RPMs and pumping 600-700 gallon a minute. So but like I say, it is dry. Urge people to conserve, try not to waste water. I know we've asked the fire department, try to hold down on water training now during these peak times of the year, and they're very gracious to do that, and because we want them to have plenty of adequate water for fire protection, as well as everybody else to be able to water their lawns and pay their water bills. But that's all I have for now. Anybody got any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to mention that we released our wastewater master plan, RFQ, today, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Questions?
Thank you.
Congratulations on getting married.
Thanks.
Yeah. Chief Morgan.
Good evening. In front of you should have my June report. We had 165 reported incidents for the month of June. We should be, I think we're at 956 or 65. I don't know if I got the numbers transversed, but we're just under 1,000 for the year. The fair's up and running, full force. We've got personnel stationed out there pretty much all day. We're there first thing in the morning for debriefings from the previous day and then operational meetings for the current day. Our fire marshal's out there making sure, working with State Fire Marshal to ensure that the rides are up to code, that inappropriate materials not attached to buildings, things like that. And then around 6 o'clock, we send a command staff person out to operate in the command staff trailer for the evening, working with the Sheriff's Department and the Fair Board. Other than that, I have nothing else, and I'd be willing to stand to answer questions.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, police.
Council President, council members, within the month of June, the Indianapolis Colts held a fan fest on the square. They had requested that we provide security they had 2 or 3 Colts players here, in which we did. We also provided security, myself and Officer Mangum, during the concert on the square in June. Hendricks Regional Health provided a cookout lunch for police department as well as the fire department for appreciation and recognition. The Hendricks County Prosecutor's Office conducted training on legal updates and presented new policies for submitting criminal charges within their office. Recently, the employee that was given a conditional offer, Brandon Blinn, he has successfully passed his PERF requirements in the psychological and physical testing. These documents have been submitted to PERF for their review, and it's just a waiting game now to see when they approve him to be a part of that pension, for him to come and be a part of our department and start his training. It's anticipated that he will go to the academy in October. As you know, we already have 1 unit recently hired in the academy right now, and Brandon should go in October. If you look on the monthly stat sheet, we had a total of 670 runs for the month. Of those runs, 271 of those were traffic stops. We took 66 reports. We had 36 criminal arrests and 7 operating while intoxication arrests. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Chief Reading.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Laura.
Briefly, I've talked for a couple months now about Tractor Supply. They have finally submitted for their site plan review, so those will be coming to the Plan Commission in August. So it's moving forward.
Public Works. Oh, I'm sorry, Stormwater. Sorry, Barry. Wow, why am I passing you up today, Barry?
It was okay if you did it that time. Just an update on the storm repairs. We're doing all the pipes in the ground Tuesday. Last Tuesday, we had another issue of an unknown pipe. We opened it up and it was crushed to nothing, so we had to run another pipe. So we added a little bit of work, but all the pipe, all the structures are in the ground. I contacted Baumgardner today about patching. I have yet to hear back from them on a date. I've been pressed really hard about a date, and I'm trying to get a date for Mr. Whitaker so that we can schedule the repave. It's been a rough go, but it'll be worth it. So,
let the public note that, yes, we know you're upset that we've cut the roads and we're fixing the infrastructure and the gravel is settling. These guys are working hard to try to make the town better. It's growing pains. It's either that or we can let the infrastructure collapse so you can drive on smooth roads with your golf carts that go nowhere.
Yeah.
So, not in front of mailboxes. What did I miss?
All right, but they are trying. I know a lot of people are complaining. I drive over those roads too. Yeah,
It's a major undertaking.
it's an old town. You know, things are falling apart. We're trying to keep the wheels on the bus, and sometimes, you know, we have to park the bus and smooth things out, and then we get going again. So just have a little patience. Go down enjoy the pool. Go down to the pool.
And it'll do better because of the order you're doing it too.
When you go down to the pool, you'll notice a little dip in the road as you come in the main entrance. That's a 3-foot pipe that's going to be the next task on the schedule. It's a 36-inch pipe, and it's gone. The bottom of it's gone. I've already cambered it. It's a metal pipe, and that's our next stop. So the hotter it is, the drier it is, we're finding a lot of weaknesses, but we're no different than the other town. Our infrastructure's old, and I'm doing the best I can to stay ahead of it.
Keep on.
Just keep plugging away.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Public Works.
Barry, back up here.
Uh-oh.
In front of the town council, Laura, and the public, you have done a tremendous job on this undertaking. I have wrote you harder than anyone. It's been fun to be the one there, hey, let's get it done, but you have done a great job. Thank you for having the town's interest at heart.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now you can take the saddle off of me.
Not until everything's paid.
No, then it'll go on him.
Yeah.
I know this is one Marcia has been waiting on. Monday the 6th, South Jefferson Street will be closed to start the final phase of concrete removal and replacement. August the 11th, Farmers Market must be moved to Washington Street. Sidewalks have been started, and 4 of those have been completed, and they are doing an excellent job. Monday, the 23rd, the day I come back off of vacation, Reeve Riley will be starting on East Main Street project to start paving from the county home past Four Oaks to the second entrance. Concert this weekend, and we look forward to continuing helping Barry get the rest of the walks back in and help get the patching work completed so the rest of the paving can be done. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions for Ray?
Thanks, Ray.
Last and certainly not least, our Parks Department.
Good evening.
You've gotten bigger, Will.
I know.
Better looking.
Will, thank
Way
you.
better.
Thank you. Will sends his regards. He's on the beach taking some well-deserved vacation. So I am here in lieu of. And as you've hopefully looked through the director's report, if there are any areas that you have questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I know you all can read.
Every time I get your report, I think it's a advertisement for a holiday. Get it like that, and get this here.
It's so colorful, isn't it?
Any questions for the park? Thank you.
Actually, I would like to say something. We actually installed some of the steps over by the tennis courts. I'd like to thank Ray and his crew for helping out with that. So there's so many instances. That's why I love this town and this crew, is that we all help each other. And I mean, we could all sit up here and thank one another for hours on end. So, but that's what makes this job rewarding. So thank you.
Yeah, before we get to the public, kind of out of order, I'd like to request that we schedule a work study to discuss any of our town insurance issues, things coming up. I don't think it needs to be discussed in a public meeting tonight.
Executive session.
Executive
Yeah, I was gonna
session.
say-
Yeah, executive session.
And I had that on my list to ask you when you wanted to do that.
Anything from the public? Brian? step on up to the microphone because we get yelled at if we don't talk in front of the mics.
I'm Brian Hosking. I'm here with Hometown Insurance, and my business partner is Dustin Ward. Here to introduce ourselves, not talk about any insurance in detail, offer our condolences to Rich Jensen. I know he was a well-respected member of the community, and I'm sure you all you knew him well. I personally had never met him, but knew and hear many good things about him, so condolences. And but we also know the world of business and insurance must go on. So, and I know that a lot of things have been said and we're here to move forward, and we're officially here to introduce ourselves as a member of the community. We took over the Rich Jensen Agency, at least from the Cincinnati Insurance book of business. There's maybe a couple other carriers in there, but I would say, probably took the majority of the business with Cincinnati, bought it, and so forth. So we're introducing ourselves. We're going to be a member of the community. Even today, we were here looking at either a long-term lease or buying a building very close by here. So it's more than lip service. We will be here. You will get to know us, and we'll be an active member of the community. Kind of said something earlier, but I want to I'm from Terre Haute, went to Butler. I live in Lebanon. My partner lives in Liston, grew up in Crawfordsville, and went to Indiana State. So I'd say we haven't lived in Danville, but we've been around it, and we're going to be much more seen. And I know that's important. We're getting a lot of calls from Stevenson Jensen clients because we're the agency on the voicemail. We're getting a lot of calls and already seeing that it's important to be a member of the community. And who are we? So I think if everybody's asking, it would be natural you would ask too. So anyway, we're the new kids on the block. We know we have to prove ourselves, and, actions will speak louder than words. So that's the only reason we're here tonight, and thank you.
Well, I thank you, and you've done a great job with my personal insurance so far. Very, very quick, very fast. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right.
So did you actually purchase from the Jensen family, that insurance?
Well, I don't know how much I can say.
Or do you already have that brokerage of that Cleveland?
Of Cincinnati. So we already had Cincinnati, and it's a combination of assignment and purchase. I would leave it at that.
Because I thought they shut the business down, they didn't sell it.
Well, it was moved to Cincinnati. Someone had to be there to service. They did shut the business. It was closed last Friday.
Yeah.
We inherited the business as of last week, and it's been absolutely a whirlwind going as fast, which insurance is a little bit like, I think probably like town business sometimes. It doesn't always move that fast. Well, it's
So
been,
purchased and inherited,
yes.
which one?
Well, I don't know that don't know that, it's a combination, I would say. Both, inherited and purchased.
Okay.
Well, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Probably assignment is probably a good.
Right, but there is a degree of purchase. There is definitely a purchase involvement in it as well.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, anybody else from the public? Oh, come on now. All right. Anything else from staff? Laura?
I wanted to remind you about the employee cookout, which you're all invited to on July 25th from 6 to 8 at the pool. And it'll be a pitch-in. Wanted to know if you wanted to schedule an executive session for this subject matter. Typically, you do it before your council meeting. Wasn't sure that your next one's going to be August 6th, so.
How's your availability?
I can make it. You were talking for that 25th, is that what you're saying? Or are you saying?
No, before August
Before the August
6th,
6th.
which is your next council
That'd be
meeting.
pretty cool.
We
to
have
it down at
time,
the
don't
pool.
we?
We've got July
There's not a lot of
30th.
urgency. Let's do it on the 6th, before the meeting.
You want to wait that long? That's why I didn't.
I just asked her, there's no
Okay,
time
so we're
crunch.
good on time with
Yeah.
what we had talked about.
That was under the plan for tonight. If that's going to change, that might feel a little more urgent.
Okay, so we may come back and revisit this after we've talked about the claim docket. So can we tentatively do August 6th, 5, for an executive session?
5?
Or
Okay.
did I say 5? I meant 6. But we may come back and revisit that if we feel like we need to. We've actually got the 23rd and 30th. Are there any other conflicts of board meetings?
No.
Yeah, that's literally 3 weeks. I don't think we can wait that long.
I don't think we can.
I'll go wherever you guys want to do.
Okay. Then let's look at either the 23rd or 30th. Any conflicts there?
Say the 23rd is probably prudent.
Do we get consensus to do on the 23rd if we remove that?
I think we do it either way. I think it's 23rd, and then, because we need to get filled in on some information, and we need to move. We may need to move quickly. I would rather.
I'd say if we can get enough, if we can get all the information we need by 23rd, that'd be great.
And if not, then we're going to know that.
Yeah.
You know, and we may have a lot more questions that we raise than we have answers to. Let's, everybody okay with the 23rd at 6 o'clock for an executive session? And we can advertise it that way? Anything else?
I got a text from Mr. Aiken. We'll report for work around 1 o'clock tomorrow. There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Sounds like Gary's back.
Let's get him a golf cart. Oh, yes. Oh, we got to get one, get it
Golf
spray
cart.
painted maroon, gray,
Even what?
cool colors.
What we-
And because, you know, with his knee, and we'll get it going up and down the hallway here with lights and bells. and
You
all
better be
that
walking.
stuff. We better be walking. All right.
That's
thank
all I
you.
had, thank you.
All right, anybody else, anything else from any of our departments? Tom?
If I want to make a motion, should I rather put it down on paper and bring it up at the next meeting, or should I just say a motion?
It's,
Huh?
it's most prudent that we have an opportunity, motion to do something, that we kind of have a heads up. Normally, like when an ordinance is brought before us, we have time to certain instances, like deal with it. But if you have something on your mind.
Yeah, I would like to make the police department run a little smoother and make a motion to make the safety liaison one of the police commissioners, instead of having three councilmen on that. 2 councilmen on the police commission, and Dennis is the safety liaison.
That
I would like
appointment
to
is
make
a
the safety
council
liaison
president
one of the 2
appointment.
Police commissioners. Well, I can make a motion. I think I better write
And
it.
then introduce it and then talk about it.
Okay.
But agree with what you're saying. Spell it out. and Make sure
Okay.
everybody's got a
Just
copy
make
of
things
it.
flow easier.
Flesh it out, make sure.
Too many bosses, you know?
Yeah, understand that. Anything else, Tom?
No, I'm fine.
The only thing I would say is I want to remind the council as a whole that when it comes down to giving instructions to department heads, that none of us have the single authority to do that. That discussion is fine. We all want to have the opportunity to discussion, but I believe that if instructions are going to be made to either change an ordinance, change a resolution or something, that be reminded that it takes a council to do that. I also want to thank Parks Department, Evenings in Ellis. This has been a great series. Friday night was by far the best night of them all with the pool party. There's been some concerns that people didn't know about it, and I'm not sure how that is because it was out in the water bill, the newspaper, every kind of social media you can imagine, the marquee on the park. But we had about 250 people show up on Friday night, and fun was had by all, and people begging to have us do it more often and again next year, so that was great. Also want to thank the town staff and Westbridge Church, but town staff specifically for their assistance in Fourth Fest. It also went very well, and we appreciate the town's partnership in that with the joint fireworks and the assistance of Ray and his group. So, all I have.
Dennis?
I have nothing.
Tim?
Nothing?
I agree with Marcia, the 4th of July was awesome. It's a lot of crews moving stuff in, and then what a lot of people don't see is they have to move it all out.
Midnight, at 11:30.
I know it because it comes past my house. All right, and I have nothing but to discuss an item on the claim docket. There are 4 payments to the Indiana Public Employees Plan. July 16th, $83,288.52. $9,953.70, and $113.40. This is the payment for insurance that we have paid, which we have discussed individually.